There are always a lot of questions about tools and equipment that we use here in the shop, and our good friend Mark, who is also a huge supporter of the channel, had asked the question after our last episode on stitches, exactly how does a shrinker stretcher work? So let's explain that to you in very simple terms, and we'll show you and demonstrate it. I know you've seen us use it a lot on the episode, but I'm not sure we've really gone into explaining how the tool works. I'm Mike, and this is my car's shop. One of the things that happens when you do something like tipping an edge like this, where you're putting a flange on a curved surface, is the metal really starts to get all wonky and bent out of shape this way as you are tipping that edge. So you need to stretch and shrink the material here to pull it back straight. Now this piece has been kicking around a long time, and it was a demo piece that I did back when I was practicing for tipping the edge before I did the first frame rail. But I think it's a good piece to use here to demonstrate exactly how the shrinker stretcher works. And I think what we'll do is we'll put it in here and I will just show you, but I'm going to do it in slow-mo so you can see it. Then I will take the jaw apart and explain exactly how it physically works to make this happen. In that slow-mo video, it looks like I'm bending it with my hand, and I'm not. This thing does it all on its own. If you just keep going, it'll just keep bending it and bending it and bending it. So you can see that it just keeps pulling it. So I'm making this wonderful curve, which is completely useless, but we can put it back over here in the shrinker and take all of that out of it. But that's not really the point of this. The purpose of this video is to explain how this tool works. So let's pull a set of jaws out of here and I'll show you what they look like, and we'll explain the theory on how they work. The jaws here in the middle have little teeth on them. Let's pull a set out of there so you can flip them up so you can see it. So there's little teeth on there, and they grab the metal. And then there is these wedges right here. And as the tool itself squeezes down, it pulls those jaws apart, so you can kind of see that. Of course, I can't generate a lot of force with my hand, but that'll spread quite wide, and it's crimping down on the metal as it is spreading that apart. The shrinker works exactly the opposite, where it's already spread apart and squeezes it together. I can show you those jaws as well. So you can see that these are already spread apart. They still have their little teeth in there, and it just squeezes as you squeeze it together. And there's little springs in there that make them go back apart. So it squeezes down on the metal and then shrinks it back together. So we'll take you over there and put that same piece of metal into the shrinker and shrink that curve back out of it. So if we want to take this curvature back out, we just simply put it in the shrinker and just start working it. The shrinker does not grab quite as good as the stretcher does, but it's just the nature of what it's trying to do, I believe. You can see how we're pulling all of that curve back out of it. And I'm not trying to do a great bang-up job on this by any means, just kind of showing you how the tool works. Got a little bit of a whoop in there. But you get the idea. That's the point. So it's not perfectly straight. We would have to do a little hammer and dolly work on that. Probably a little more shrink and stretching. But point is, when I'm making an edge, like when I was doing the frame rails on this, or if I'm doing a window opening, like the back window when we get to that, which needs a ton of work, this is an invaluable tool. Yes, it does kind of mar the metal up a little bit. That never bothers me any. Some people it does. But it's just a great way to move metal around. So between the bead roller for tipping the edge, warping this, and then pulling it back in shape, it just does a great job. I don't remember what I paid for this. This is the Eastwood unit. It's their small one. I like the plate. I got the plate and the unit. It was a few $100s. It wasn't a huge amount of money. I looked at some more inexpensive ones and I decided to go with the Eastwood one because I felt it was probably going to be made a little bit better, and I think it is. A couple of tips if you're going to use one of these: make sure your metal's clean, free of paint, especially free of any tar. A lesson learned the hard way. I was using a piece of used metal, didn't pay attention that there was some rust proofing on the back of it, and gummed the jaws all up and couldn't figure out why the unit wouldn't work. So make sure that your metal really should be bare. This has got primer on it. Technically I should have cleaned that up, taken that off of there, because the residual will get in those little jaw teeth. They're very micro fine teeth in there. And so make sure that you keep those clean. You have to take them out, clean them up once in a while. Just run them over, I try not to run them over a wire wheel. Just scrape them out, maybe use a little hand wire brush, some solvent, whatever. Keep them real clean and dry. The unit works great. I've been impressed with it. I've had it now for a couple of years, and really has made a lot more versatility here in the shop. As a matter of fact, I think there might be an episode way back in the beginning of the channel when I first purchased this, because I was already doing my car shop when I bought it. So keep those questions coming. I'm happy to answer them. I'll explain more of how things work around here, any demonstrations you want. Let me clarify, I am not an expert at any of this stuff. I have some tools, I know how to roughly use them, and I call myself more of a metal butcher than a fabricator, but I can usually get the job done and make something that's functional, safe, and fairly respectable. But I'm certainly not an artisan when it comes to working with metal, and I don't claim to be. So I'm just an average guy with some average skills and a few basic tools. Couple pieces of equipment: sheet metal brake, bead roller, pipe anvil, shrinker stretcher. That's about it. TIG welder, MIG welder, grinders. It's about all I use. There's other things I'd like to get. I'd love to get an English wheel, but that's a problem because I don't have space for one, first of all. Second of all, just a cost thing right now. Putting so much money into the projects, and we do have 10 cars that we're working on here. So, well, you can see it all around the channel. So, got more coming on the 47 Ford. We're going to try to get that wiring done, and I want to get that grill painted. It's almost ready. The Oakland, by the time you see this, I think you will see that we did get it to fire up. When we have issues, it won't stay running, so we will be going back on that soon. I'm waiting on new plug wires, cap, rotor points, some other stuff. Hopefully that will help, and we think we have an exhaust restriction. We've been hammering hard on the Stitches Challenger. I want to get this frame rail finished up, get this back section done. We're just in the process of finishing the trunk extensions, getting that all fabricated. So lots coming on this real soon, and that's fun. The Duster, the next step on that is we're going to get that up and look at the torsion bar cross member and see exactly what we need to do, if we're going to fabricate that or just buy the parts. That car, we may go ahead and buy some of the inexpensive parts to demonstrate to you usually how bad they are when they come, and the fact that you have to modify a lot of times new parts to make them fit as well, and that's just par for the course. There's no real just, you know, buy the part and weld it in and not have to modify it. Everything requires a tweak. The cheaper the part is, the more of the tweak requires. Even the most expensive parts that I've worked with still don't fit exactly right, and you've got to massage them. So we try to share all the varieties here on the channel. Those are the cars we have in the shop right now. Of course, there are 6 other ones around the property here that we're also working on, and we may do some other things, we don't know. I really appreciate you being here. If you haven't subbed to the channel, please do that. We're really trying to hit that 1,000 mark. You guys have been great, and I'm really trying to offer you the content that you want to see. You have spoken loudly that you want to see the Challenger and you want to see the Forsyth Duster. So we're really pushing on those 2 cars particularly and trying to stay focused. But when you ask a question, I will do a Tuesday episode on the questions you ask. So fire away. There's also one more thing that's very important. Don't forget, rock.